Today in this 2017 Ford Focus, we're going to be having a look at and showing you how to install the Demco tabless base plate kit, part number DM9519324. Here's what our base plate looks like installed with our removable arms disconnected. Now, what's great about this is that it'll maintain a clean look on the front of our Focus when we're not flat towing it behind our motorhome. This base plate will serve as the attachment point to your motorhome and will work with most tow bars on the market. The way you attach your removable arms, you can simply twist out your plug here. We'll take our arm, insert it with this tab horizontally, twist it 90 degrees, and we'll use our clevis pin here to lock it into place. Now we can't twist it to remove it. And then we'll simply repeat the same process on the other side of the vehicle. Now just like that, we're ready to hook up to our motorhome. Well, now what's great about this base plate is that we do have very solid safety cable attachment points on the front of it to hook up to our motorhome. We also have a nice, very solid bracket that's included for mounting any electrical connections here, like a 6-way round. And we can even mount our breakaway switch to it as well if we have a supplemental braking system. One thing that I like about this base plate is that it does have a nice powder coat finish on it. So it'll be more rust and corrosion resistant and scratch resistant. So you don't have to worry about scratching it up, hooking up your safety cables. This will maintain a nice clean look on it for a very long time. And now that we've gone over some features, we'll show you how to get it installed. To begin our install, we have our hood open. Now we're going to remove the fasteners underneath the hood that hold our fascia in place. We'll have one plastic fastener like this one on each corner of the back side of a radiator cover. The way these work, you can use a trim panel tool and get underneath the top of it. You can also use a flathead screwdriver. We'll start to pry up on the middle section, then we can pry up on the entire pin. Now in each corner we'll have torque screws, one by our headlight here, and then 2 here by our hood bumper, so we'll have 3 per side there. Now we have one exactly in the middle. Now on each side of the vehicle, we're going to have 3 plastic fasteners underneath on the bottom of the fascia to remove. We'll have one near the corner of where our license plate bracket is, one towards the center where your fog light would be, and then one right in front of the tire. And these work the same way as they did on top of the vehicle. Now in each one of our wheel wells, where the fender liner meets the fascia, we're going to have 3 fasteners. We'll have 2 torque screws, plus a plastic fastener just like we've had before. Keep in mind everything we do on one side of the vehicle, we're going to repeat on the other. Okay, now we need to remove our hood release cable from our latch. So I'll pull out on the latch, we'll grab the cable with a pair of pliers, twist it around, lift up, and it's out of the mechanism there. We can pull up on it here out of the bracket and swing it to the side now. It's released from our fascia. Okay, now we need to unbolt our headlight assemblies. We'll have 2 bolts that hold them in place. Then we can lift up on them, pull them up. If you use a flathead screwdriver, you can get underneath the tab, kind of pry up on it a little bit, or you can stick it like that and pull back. We'll do the same on the other side. Now that we have our headlights removed, we can remove our fascia. We'll grab it at the corner where it meets the fender and pull back. We'll lift up on this tab here where our headlight was and pull back. With an extra set of hands, we'll just pull it away from the vehicle. If your vehicle has fog lights, you'll need to disconnect the wiring harness. Ours does not, so we can just set this aside where it won't get damaged. Now we need to remove our air deflector. We'll have 2 screws on our particular application, here and here. Some other vehicles may have a 3rd one over in this area. With those screws removed, we can grab this and pull it down and away from the vehicle. Now on the side of our air deflector, near the top of it, we need to trim off a rectangular section. I'm just gonna go down about halfway on it, and then I'll just trim off the rest of it. Using a pair of aviation snips for this. You can also use a pair of scissors if they're sharp, or a utility knife. And we'll do this on both sides. Now underneath our wheel well, on each side, we have 3 screws. We'll remove these screws. Now we'll remove this lower wicker bill. We'll do that by removing the 3 screws that hold it in place. Then we can grab it and pull down. Now for our lower fascia panel here, this air deflector, we'll remove the 3 screws that hold it in place. Be this one, and this one. Then we can grab the panel, pull it off the vehicle, and set it aside. We need to remove our washer reservoir. Before we do that, we're going to disconnect the level sensor. We'll do that by pressing on this tab at the top and pulling to separate. We'll do the same for our pump. Swing these wiring harnesses out of the way. And since we need to drain this so it doesn't leak when we have it out of the vehicle, we'll get a bucket or pan in place. We'll grab our level sensor here, just pull it out of the vehicle, and we'll catch all of our fluid. Okay, with our level sensor drained out, we can reinstall the level sensor. We'll disconnect the actual line from the pump. We'll lift up on this locking tab on the pump. Once we remove the lock tab, we can grab the line, pull it off. A little bit more fluid will drain out, so we'll let that drain. With it all drained now, we'll reinstall the lock tab on our line. Now we'll remove our washer fluid reservoir by removing the 2 10mm bolts, just like this one. We'll slide it back and then pull it down and out. Now we need to relocate our passenger side horn. We'll remove the 10mm bolt that holds it in place. And just pull it down for right now. Now we'll take a 1/4-inch bolt and a lock washer. We'll come through the back side of this hole here. We'll hang our horn on that, place on a flat washer, and then our nut. We'll hold the bolt still with a wrench, and we'll tighten the nut down with a socket. And that'll relocate our horn. Now in our driver's side wheel well, there's one additional screw right here that holds our fender liner in place. we're going to remove this screw to give ourselves a little bit more room to work. Now we can push back our fender liner against our tire. We have another 8mm bolt in between the computer and the fender liner. Extension will be helpful on this. And our third one, you can see the actual bolt portion of it coming through here. We'll push back on the fender liner and come from behind with an 8mm socket to remove it. This is why we removed that torque screw in the wheel well. Now we're going to unclip our wiring harnesses on the driver's side in 2 locations. One right here, and then a second one right here. Now we'll unplug the horn on our driver's side, press it on the tab right here and pull back. Here's the tab. Now in order to disconnect the connector for our grille shutters, take a flathead screwdriver, press down on this tab, and pull to separate. Alright, these connectors disconnected. We can swing this wiring harness out of the way, and we'll have access to the 3 holes on our frame rail where our base plate will attach to. Now we need to make an access hole right here on our bumper beam so we can get our hardware inside of our frame rail. You can use a hole saw to do this, but I found the Ford Focus has a really hard bumper beam of hardened steel, which is hard to use a hole saw with. So you're better off using a grinder or a rotary tool for this. So I made about a 2" by 2" square. That'll give us access into our frame rail. We'll do this on both sides. Now with the next set of hands, we'll take our base plate and we'll start on the driver's side. We'll come in at about a 45-degree angle over this brace here, and we'll need to tap it into position. So we'll grab a hammer, tap it up. Now we'll just line up the holes in the base plate with the holes in the frame of the vehicle. We'll place one of our bolts through the base plate in the center. To help hold it in place. And we'll do the same for the back and the front. We put a clamp on to our base plate in the bumper beam just to help secure it. Now we're going to take out our bolts one at a time, starting with our rear one first. Place a lock washer on the bolt, and we'll take some of the provided Loctite with the base plate and put it on the bolt, and we'll thread it back in its hole. Now we'll take one of our long handle nuts and screw that bolt into this long handle nut. So we'll stick it to the front, and we'll line it up with the bolt and screw it into the bolt. Okay, once we have it screwed into our handle nut, we'll leave it slightly loose for the time being. Now we'll remove our bolt in the middle. Place our lock washer on. Put Loctite on it. And we'll take our medium length handle nut. Place it through the hole. Line it up. And we'll thread our bolt into it. Take out the front one, lock washer, Loctite, and we'll do our short handle nut through the hole, lining it up and screwing our bolt into it. We went ahead and repeated the same process on our passenger side. Now we'll take our driver's side brace and we'll take one of our computer bolts and place the back hole in our brace over where the computer bolted into the vehicle, and we'll just loosely thread that in for right now. Now we'll take one of our 1/2-inch bolts, go through our brace, and through the base plate. Put our Loctite on the bolt. And put some on our nut. Place a lock washer on. And we'll thread a nut on. All right, our passenger side's a little bit different. We'll take one of our washer tank bolts, bolt it to the rear hole. Let's get it loosely in there for right now. I have one of our 1/2-inch bolts going through our brace and through our base plate. Put our Loctite on the bolt. We place our lock washer on. Now I'll place on our nut. Now we'll tighten our bolts that secure our braces to our base plate. Now we'll tighten the back bolt for our computer brace. Now we'll tighten the back bolt on the passenger side. Now we'll tighten the 3 bolts on each side that hold our base plate to the frame. Now we already have a hole that lines up in the body of the vehicle for our middle hole, but we're going to need to drill our front hole on the passenger side. So we'll just drill that out to the size indicated in the instructions using the base plate brace as a guide. Okay, we'll put Loctite on all of our bolts now. Place them in the holes. And we'll put lock washers and nuts on the back side. Now we'll go ahead and tighten our bolts in the front using a wrench and a socket. Now we'll remove our back bolt on the passenger side. This way we can reinstall our washer reservoir. We'll repeat the same process on the driver's side, drilling our holes out as necessary, installing our bolts and hardware, and then removing the back bolt so we can reinstall our computer. Now we'll torque all of our hardware to the amount specified in the instructions. Okay, now we'll take a metric M8 by 1.25 bolt, a lock washer, and a flat washer, and we'll go into our front washer reservoir hole. We'll have a lock washer and a flat washer for our back hole, but we'll also have a 7/16 nut which we'll use as a spacer to keep our washer reservoir away from the frame appropriately. And the nut will go in between the reservoir and our base plate brace. Now we'll tighten those bolts down. Now we'll plug back in our pump, our level sensor, and clip back on our fluid line. Now we can reinstall our computer. You may need to bend this bracket a little bit in order to get all the bolt holes to line up. Okay, we went ahead and used our safety cables, wrapped them around our bumper beam and our base plate, used the quick link that's provided to attach them together, and we use a zip tie on the quick link to secure it to a point in the vehicle so we don't have to worry about the cables rattling around. We did this on both sides of the vehicle. Here, our electrical mounting bracket can be mounted on either the driver's side or the passenger side base plate arm. You want to make sure you have it facing down like this. We chose to mount ours on the driver's side with the provided hardware. Now we'll reconnect any of our electrical connectors on the driver's side that we unplugged. Now while our fascia is still off, this is a good time to mount any breakaway switches for any supplemental braking systems that we're installing, or running any wiring for any of our tow vehicle lighting systems. So we did that, used some wire loom and electrical tape to conceal it behind our fascia, and we just routed the wires up behind where our headlight's going to sit on the driver's side making sure we have plenty of wire to work with. Now on our lower air dam, we found that we also need to do some additional trimming here to reinstall it. We need to remove these vertical bars. Okay, we found that we're going to need to trim basically the entire section of our lower grill out. So we'll just use our aviation snips to do so. If you have a front license plate, it's easier to flip it over to get the ones here in the middle. Now on each side where our fog lights would be if our vehicle was equipped, we need to cut out a small section to make sure we don't go too deep where we actually will go through the fascia on the front side. All right, now we can reinstall our fascia. All right, now we can reinstall all of our fasteners for our fascia and our headlights in the reverse order of removal. And then I'll complete our look at and showing you how to install the Demco tabless base plate kit, part number DM9519324 on this 2017 Ford Focus.